Right, 2 minutes. You live?
I'll just see when it comes
Just
up.
wait for a couple of people.
Just wait for a couple of people. Come on, John.
Yeah, are we on or no?
Yeah, we'll just wait for a few people to come on on the show.
You know, I did a show with Stephen Gillen last week. Do you know who that is?
Right.
Yeah, yeah.
No, I'm not sure. No.
Let's get this back on.
He's pretty popular now over there. He did about 18 years in prisons and whatever.
I think he's on your Facebook, Stephen.
Is he?
Yeah.
There's that many people on your Facebook. You don't know, do you, John? People join you.
They keep knocking me off my Facebook, these guys.
Yeah.
That's terrible.
I'm used to it. They haven't stopped, and they keep trying to instigate me, but I'm not stupid, so.
But you've been noticed, though, John, they don't say it to your face.
No.
They don't come knock on your door. It's always Warrior 135 or Spaceman Y156. They don't have real names, it's idiots.
Yeah.
Right. Welcome, everybody, to the Taxman Show. It's me, Brian Cockerill. I've got John ALITE. John, can you introduce yourself to the folks, please?
Hey, everybody. John ALITE. I'm John ALITE. I'm in New York, and just want to say hello to everybody over there.
Yeah, John, can we just go back to where you were born, where you were from, your roots, and that's just let people know what you're about. Yeah,
I'm from Jamaica Avenue, Woodhaven, Queens. We nicknamed it Death Haven. It's on the borderline of Queens and Brooklyn, and pretty kind of rough spot from a lower middle class neighborhood, lower class neighborhood. So,
yeah. What was that? Do you have any siblings?
Yeah,
sisters.
Two sisters and a brother. My brother's still here with me. He lives with me, so he's alone. He's an ex-fighter too. He fights. And
is that Jimmy? Is he called?
Yeah, Jimmy. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought I'd seen him. Probably do one with him next to the podcast. So, so what was it like being in the neighborhood when you grew up? What was it like?
I grew up in the '60s originally, so it was a lot of violence from mob world and from the racial stuff that went on. So now it's there's no race thing in my opinion. Now it's not like when we grew up. So, and I got a lot of mixed friends of every nationality. So.
Yeah. What was it like going to school?
A lot of fighting. I mean, the neighborhood, since I was in the ring at 3 years old. There's some pictures out there of me and my brother boxing, and my father was a fighter, and so our whole neighborhood was fighters. So you went to school, and it wasn't like school, and some kids get education, they go to school. Our schools was constant fighting, so that was part of the education.
Right. What was your first encounter with the cops?
My first encounter, nobody really talks about, is when we were little kids. Some of the older kids stole the keys to the school. So I took some of the keys, and we used to go into school and play around, and somebody stole all the computers, and one of the older guys blamed me. I was only, I don't know, 9 years old or something. And the detectives came and pulled me out of class and asked if I had the keys. And I said, I don't know what you're talking about. What keys? And, they said, well, we're going to bring you to your father, because my father would have given me a beating. And they're sort of trying to scare me. And I says, I ain't got no keys. But I threw them away next door. But I knew where I threw them. It was like a junkyard there. So I went back and got them. And since they accused me of stealing the computers, I went back and I started stealing them.
But in them days, John, I think it was you got punished off your dad and your mum, things like that. And the old school mob policeman would pull you and say, I'm going to tell your dad, and you'd be petrified to go home because you knew you were in for a good thumping off your father.
Yeah.
I think that's gone now these days, a lot of that.
Yeah, well, I think that's the problem. The kids are a little spoiled, and they have that poor me syndrome. He said, they just don't have the same upbringing that we did. And I think, I'm not saying they should beat kids, but I think you need to discipline them a little bit more than they did. Yeah. Obviously now they just, my opinion, very lazy, spoiled. They play too much on computers, and they don't have the same values when your father or somebody talks to you that you respect.
Yeah, we were kids, John. You'd be out playing on your bikes, playing whatever games, football, hockey, what you played, or whatever, all types of games. There was hardly anybody overweight, boxing, whatever. They're into sport, but because they're into computers, a lot of kids, 1 in 3 children are overweight because they don't do any exercise.
Yeah, I think the parents let them stay in the house. You know, when we were in the house, you know, my father, can we curse on this thing? But
yeah, you can, yes, of course.
Yeah. So my father would
You're
kick
allowed.
me in the ass and say, get the fuck out of the house. So, you know, he didn't want to hear about it. So, you know, we played every sport there was. We played hockey, we played football, we played basketball, baseball. We were boxing every day. That was a forced, that wasn't a choice. My father had us in the basement and at the gym. So, you know, that's just part of the routine. And I think it's good for kids to be out there being not physical, but just being interacting with other kids. It's healthy.
Totally agree. John, when you left school, did you have anything you wanted to do, any type of job?
Yeah, you know, when I was in school, I never wanted to be a stockbroker, but one of my cousins bought a stock brokerage firm, and they told me to go get a license. So I studied for the Series 7. I got a license, but I had a problem where I stabbed an off-duty cop. I didn't know he was a cop, and I got locked up in California. So they wouldn't let me. I tried getting a couple of jobs, and after I passed the test, and they kept firing me. So that didn't work out too well. So I tried it though.
So when was the transition when you got in with the mafia?
Yeah, I don't think, you know, a lot of guys, you know, I'm Albanian. Everybody knows that, but I think I was raised more in the mob world than any guys that were for the mob world. You know, as a baby, I was on the laps of. You know, Al Greco, he's a famous tough guy killer, gangsters, and Fat Andy Ruggiano. And as much as I bring up his name, it seems like people just want to ignore who he is. This was the most famous proliferal gangster around in the mob world that was with Albert Anastasia, Murder Inc. And these guys were out killing like crazy. When he was made in 1953 or 54, I believe Fat Andy was made. He's kind of like a grandfather to me. So I've been on the laps of these guys since I'm a baby.
Yeah, can you tell us any stories about what you got up to, allegedly?
What I did, or with these guys, or
with what you did, whatever.
You know, as a young kid, you know, again in the era I'm growing up, and you know, you're seeing a lot of killings going on. You know, I'm on the street, I'm watching guys getting battered by gangsters, and my little girlfriend in school, her father and uncle were, you know, made guys, little Casey family. Fat Andy was Gambino family, little Al Greco and those guys were Genovese family. So, you know, these are my like role models, uncles, grandfathers, or whatever. And my father and uncle were partners with Blackie Luciano, who's Charlie Luciano, the famous Lucky Luciano's first cousin. Yeah. He was a gangster. So, you know, I'm watching these guys. I'm watching, you know, inadvertently a lot of these things that happen. They don't want me to be there, but I see things. You know, you're in a backyard, you're at a card game, and they split a guy's head open. And, you know, it was just, blood was normal to me because the way my father raised us in the gyms, and most kids 3-4 years old, they fall down, they cry. Us, we weren't allowed to cry, we get hit extra. So, you know, we got adapted to that life of violence and not crying and, you know, just ignore it and, you know, act like you don't see it and whatever. So. Yeah,
when I was a kid, if I went home and said, "Mum, I'm getting bullied," you get a slap and say, "Get out there and fight back." That was where we were brought up. It's totally different now.
My father used, you know, I told him, there's a friend of mine who was in prison with me, Eddie Hannon. You know, he lived around the corner from me, and you know, he wasn't a tough guy. He was just a streety guy. And as a kid, you know, he was really like streety, so I was a little nervous of him. And he came around to fight me, and you know, we became best friends. We were in prison still. He just died. He was a bank robber. And he come to fight me when I was 7, 8 years old, and he's outside in front of my house, and he's like, "Come on out here and fight me." So I'm like, I'm behind the curtain. I don't want to fight him. And you know, my father's like, "What are you doing?" So I says, "Eddie's outside." No, he's friends with Eddie's father. So he goes, "So the boy wants to fight you?" I go, "Yeah." He goes, "Well, get out there and be a man and fight him." So I'm thinking if I don't fight him, he's gonna crack me. So I go out there and I go, "Eddie, I don't want to fight you." He goes, "Oh, we're going to fight." So, you know, we fight. And the next day we're out buying a soda together. You know, it was just the way our neighborhood was. Yeah. We became like really good friends. And, you know, we joked about it in prison.
Yeah, I've had that with people. You've had fights. You're knocking the hell out of each other. And 2 or 3 weeks later, you're best of friends for the rest of your life. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I caught so many beatings. You know, guys talk shit when I'm on these shows and, you know, thing. And, you know,
yeah.
I got baseball bat beatings. I got stabbed up. I got shot. I mean, I've been through everything. And guys, you know, they talk this nonsense like they've been about something. And, you know, they're clueless to my neighborhood, you know, or the guys, the real guys, you know, the guys that were really. getting.
You still walk about, John, in your own neighbourhood. You drive a convertible. You don't hide from anyone. You've got nothing to hide about. And these people call you names. Like people, I get called names. Everyone gets called names. And when you're successful and you're a very clever man, I can tell that. And when you're clever, you can rise above these because you know what they're about. But they do get to you a little bit, these trolls, because you want to grab hold of them, but they're probably in the bedroom with the mum. Get down here and get your tea, and they live with the mum and dad, still in the 40-odd-year-old, and they're just gobshites. Yeah.
Years ago, I'm with my son. I'll tell you a quick funny story. So we're in Switzerland, and there's a guy trolling on my phone. And my younger son, we're in a runway, so the plane to take off, and he's got my phone. I'm terrible with technology, and he's writing back and forth, and some troll is talking crazy with me. So I said to my son, "Give me the phone." So he shows me the guy on the phone, and he has like 40 or 50,000 followers. I go, watch how easy this is. So I call my friend in Switzerland because we just left there, and he controls most of that area there. He's a heavyweight in Europe. So I says, hey, do me a favor. He goes, what? I says, get this guy's name and ask all your people if anybody knows this kid. So I figured I'd find him in 2 weeks. He finds him immediately while we're on the top. He goes, John, this guy lives like 15 minutes from me. He says, I'll send 3 guys to his house. So we're on the thing and we're laughing, and the guy's writing. Now I'm writing, and he's telling me he's going to do this to me. He's going to do that to me. And I said to him, go answer your doorbell. So he's like, fuck you. There's nobody at my door. So we get on my son's phone and we call my friend, and I tell my friend, are they there? He goes, yeah. I says, tell him to ring the bell now. So he rings the bell now. And I says, how about now? Are they at the door now? And he was like, hey, this is just for fun. I'm only a 30-year-old kid. I'm only playing. I'm not serious. I go answer that door before they kick your door in. I says, you guys all think you're cute, but it ain't it's not a game all the time. Anyway, the kid begged, and then my friend knocked on it. They made him come out, and he says, you know what? You're not allowed on social media anymore. So you got to treat him like a child. That same guy that was killing me on the thing was begging for forgiveness. That's what the world became now.
So when did you get enthralled with the? Did you get jobs off people when you worked for the Mafia and things to do? What type of work did you do for them?
I'm about.
I'm not getting you in trouble, just allegedly.
I'm about 14 years old, and I'm running errands for mob guys and little things. But at that age, people always talk about me, and I tell them, like, I was a good kid out of all my kids, my friends. My friends were already killing at that age. I had some serious friends that were already killing. We come from the streets. So, when people ask, they talk about poverty areas. I come from a poverty area and, surrounding areas of poverty areas. So my friends are already in and out of drug rehabs at kids. They were on TV shows. They were on the David Susskind show at the time, one of our friends. And they were in places like Spofford rehabs and Rikers Island and, juvenile centers. And I was actually innocent. These guys were already doing killings, doing shootings. But then I stepped it up, and I think I just took a sprint past everybody. And as I'm aging, I became very, very aggressive. And there's my history now. So
yeah, it's coming out now.
Unfortunately.
So, do you know that saying, when somebody's going to get whacked, obviously that means they're going to get taken out. Where does that saying come from?
You know what? In the area, mob guys would say, this guy got whacked, or this guy's getting hit, or this guy putting in a piece of work. But what the people really don't know around the world is, and I think that's why so many guys talk nonsense with me, is, I show the myth of the mafia, how full of shit everybody is. So, people think, oh, this guy's a made guy, or that guy. Listen. And I've said it over and over again. I don't give a fuck about anybody's stupid title. This guy's a captain. This guy's a boss. This guy's a made guy. This guy's full of shit. That guy's full of shit. That guy's full of shit. I say, a man is a man. It ain't by a title. I mean, this is the street. Anybody who's really from the street, I got Spanish friends, black friends, Irish friends. They're fucking serious, tough guys. There ain't nobody telling them what to do. I said, so, when this nonsense talks to me about these myths, nonsense of guys that never cracked an egg, I just get infuriated with it.
Yeah, you get a lot, don't you, if you hear them at parties and they've done this thing, they've done that thing, and it's always the tough guys who don't say nothing, and the ones who haven't done anything spout their mouth off, but when the trouble comes, they're the first ones to run.
We were at a location. I got an Irish friend that grew up with me, Michael, and I won't say his second name, but we were in a mob club, and one of the guys was walking in, and the other guy, Michael, was walking out, and Michael cracked him, because they ran into each other. The guy said something, and he cracked him, and the guy was a skipper. So, mob laws and mob myth are two different things. If you put your hand on a mob guy, you're supposed to get a death sentence. So he cracked him, and what's the guy going to do? Michael's a tough guy, so he's going to tell somebody else. Michael said, you could tell who the fuck you want to tell, and I'll still kill you. So he's, so this nonsense when you hear about these rules, what they live in off of is the 50s, 60s, 70s, even the 80s. Right. And after that, it's over. So all these guys that are getting straightened out, which means made guys, these guys, I can give you a list of guys that never used a gun in their life, never used a knife in their life. I don't think they got into a fist fight in their life. So this nonsense people believe, they're hearing that from the old days. They're not hearing it from the present days. And there's always a handful of tough guys, don't get me wrong. Yeah. But for the most part, 98% of them are frauds.
Do you think that the old schools, personally, I thought the old school were a lot tougher than the ones now? Yeah,
because the old school, you had guys who would fist up, they'd fight. You'd have guys that would, they don't pick and choose. This generation thinks when 6 or 7 guys beat up 2 guys, they're like, wow, did you see him hit him? I mean, that's a fucking coward. They just won't get it. Yeah. So, and when guys still at my age now, they're still challenging me. And I laugh. I says, these guys are talented. They want to make a name off trying to make a name off of us, and we have to choose when it's going to end, because otherwise, if we don't, first off, at this age, we should be setting an example. I try to do.
Yeah, of course.
And second, you want to still abuse those trolls and those big mouths, but if these guys were about it, they wouldn't talk like that. You know that. The tough guys don't talk like that. They don't troll.
Oh, no.
They don't speak disrespectfully. They just behave when it comes down to having to act. They act.
Yeah. But, and another thing, John, if someone said to me, John ALITE is in this building somewhere, and there was 100 people, I'd pick you out every time, because I know just by your mannerism, the aura you have, your intelligence, and you just know, don't you, who's. When certain people, like Mike Tyson, when he was about, you could put him in front of 1,000 black people. That's Mike Tyson, not even knowing him. You just know by the aura.
Yeah, I mean, listen, you're always going to get, the real guys are always going to be gentlemen. There was an article I think we talked about on Forbes magazine. It talks about me killing and shooting 30-something guys, whatever it was, and so you got agents, prosecutors, ex-gangsters, everybody that are saying, this is accurate. This guy's done this. And then you got dummies that say, oh, I think he's embellishing and lying. And it's almost incredible, the envious and jealousness, because these guys don't understand to be a tough guy on the street or a man on the street is nothing to be bragging about, but the facts are the facts. And these guys, the same guys that are talking like that, you really want to be a tough guy. I can name every family. Listen, I'll do it this way. The whole Colombo family years ago, all ratted. The whole family. They dismantled the family. The Bonanno family, whole family 10 years ago started ratting from the boss down. The Philadelphia mob, the boss, the underboss, all ratted. Pittsburgh, they all ratted. Chicago, they ratted. So when these guys are trying to sell a myth of a mafia, they're the biggest cowards there are. Yeah. People keep buying into it. And they keep talking that nonsense. But the real guy, the real tough guys, and you go to a gym, you watch guys fight, they get in the ring, really fight by themselves, are tough guys. The guys that join the army, the guys that are on the street every day, and they're taking those beatings. Because when I see guys that never got a beating, I know those are the guys that are weasels and worms that only pick their shots because they're only choosing when to hit a guy. Or you hear about a guy, oh, he's a tough guy, because he hit a guy that he knows ain't going to hit him back because they figure he's got 10 guys or he's got a position. So they're afraid to fight. So, I'm sick of hearing the same thing from these weak guys that talk like that.
Yeah. But the people like you and I, John, we'd fight anyone 1-to-1. We don't want like 3 on my side and 1 on their side. You don't do. You wouldn't feel like you had a fight. You feel like a bit of a coward if you had 3 on
Well,
1.
you didn't, you develop personally a name that carried across here, across the pond, across the states, across. You don't get that name. And, when guys are talking or knocking you or writing something, and I write them back or here, I said, well, you didn't get that. No one knows your name for a reason. Everybody knows his name for a reason. I says, not because he sat in the sidelines trolling like these idiots do. So, and when I hear these guys that are grassing and they're calling other guys rats and this and that, well, there's plenty of guys out there that grassed on guys. Well, I'm not advocating for you to do anything, but since you're a tough guy, go see one of them. I don't think it's that hard to find a couple of guys and go do what you claim that you were about instead of writing and typing.
Yeah. Well, my door's open anytime. It's just talking the talk, like we said the other week. But when was the first jail sentence you got, John?
I was a kid the first time I got locked up for a stupid thing at 16 or 17, and my friends ran on a food bill, and I was in a diner, and I was in the bathroom. When I came out, they ran, and I didn't have money. I went out the door, and they all ran. Some guy chased us in a car, and it ended up being a big thing, and he tried to hit us, and we got out of the car, and the cops had roadblocks for us over nonsense. But then after that, it became a regular thing. It was usually at 18, I got locked up for a couple of assaults. At 19, I stabbed an off-duty cop, and some of his friends jumped a friend of mine from college that he was a nice guy. They gave him some beating, and I caught the guy about an hour later. I didn't know he was an off-duty cop, and I didn't actually punch him. I kicked him in the face. He was sitting on a half ledge. I never used my feet. I don't know why I kicked him. I didn't even know nothing about using my legs. But I caught him good, and then I stabbed him, and I got locked up for it in California. So I've been locked up, New York.
Right, what was it like, that feeling getting locked up, John, going in? Obviously, when I first got locked up, it's that feel of the unknown, isn't it? You're not sure what's going to happen. Yeah,
I mean, you always got that anxiety. Because it's something new. When guys tell you, "Oh, I wasn't," I wouldn't use the word scared. I would use the word, just like you said, unknown, anxiety of, okay, what's going to go on here? How am I going to handle my way through this, navigate? But the problem with jail is once you go in there once or twice, and then you make it a regular habit, it's like going back to school again. You're at a place where you're very comfortable. You know everybody in these prisons. You're walking in, your whole neighborhood's there, and you got a reputation at this point, so you get treated like a king, kind of, and it becomes a negative thing that you kind of just get adapted to.
Yeah, when you go to jail, over here, you go to jail, you go in for the driving offence, you come out knowing everything about robberies and everything, so you get educated on how to do burglaries and shootings.
Well, you start making connections around every neighborhood, too. You get friendly with 2 or 3 guys, and from that neighborhood, this neighborhood, and before you know it, when you come out, you just expanded your criminal enterprise. So, it's not really as everybody thinks.
Well, people say to me, "Oh, jail's easy." It wasn't for me, John. It's a horrible place to be, locked up, away from your family. You're missing your family, your brothers, your sisters, your mum. The kids are missing you. So it's not a nice place to be. We yourself as well, going to schools with kids. We're trying to teach kids not to do what we did, because we can't stop what we did in the past because it's gone. But we can help the kids up today and tomorrow by educating them, saying, get yourself an education, get yourself into a sport. Don't sell drugs, because I ended up taking them for a long time. I started selling them, then you start taking them, and it's a merry-go-round. You can't get off it sometimes, John.
Well, I try to tell the kids, like what you're just saying, I'm very boisterous. Everybody knows that, because, it's to go to jail physically, no big deal. You fight, you not fight, you get hurt. That's not the pain. The kids, I think the kids don't understand that, especially kids that are trying to be tough guys or trying to be, I guess the way I was trying to be a tough guy, that you go to jail and you prove that, no big deal, you can go to jail, but they're missing the other part. The part is the family stuff. That's the pain. When you lose a family member, or you're not seeing your kids, or you're not seeing your parents, or your grandparents are dying while you're there. And, those are the things that kids don't understand, the emotional and mental pain. And maybe some of these kids are tough enough to go to jail and make it through. All right. But that's not the pain. And we're not built to be in cages. We're not animals. So, when you're losing out, like, I got an older son in prison right now. So when the rest of the kids are going to the beach or they're going to a restaurant or they're with their girlfriend, he's stuck in a cell like an animal, like a dummy, like, you know, and it kills me that he's there. But the point is, it's just a waste of life. And I'm trying to teach the kids, and the kids have a belief that all these big mouths they hear on the street, that they never did anything. If you watch all the shows that most of these guys are doing, they never talk about themselves. You know, you hear a lot of people ask me, how many people did you kill? How many people did you stab? How many people did you bat? How many times did you get? I get the genre of questions. How many people you pipe? I don't see one other of these other guys asking these guys. Stop talking about another guy. Let's talk about yourselves specifically. What'd you do? You have a big reputation of doing work by yourself. I know your reputation with people that don't know. But you're not the average guy. You are the elite guy in this life. The average guy doesn't talk about anything but some name-dropping story. They don't talk about themselves, because if they had to give their, like in baseball, give their baseball stats on a card, well, tell us specifically how many did you kill. Tell me how many you shot. Tell me how many guys you stabbed up. Tell me how many guys you batted. Just tell me about how many fist fights you actually had. And I'm not talking about slapping a guy or jumping a guy. I'm talking about yourself one-on-one. They can't even tell about a fist fight. Forget about anything else. These kids don't really understand that. So I'm really calling out all these guys, because I'm saying, if you're really real, then you'd help these kids and tell them the truth. Tell them, listen, you ain't about that. Stop trying to influence these kids to be about that. Get these kids to go to work, play ball, go to school, and do the right thing with their life. Enjoy their life. It's too short.
You're right, John. And the thing is, once you get jail, you're in there. Them years, you can't get them back, because once they've gone, they've gone. And you missed out on a lot. And I think as well, I went to jail, I don't know for you, when I came out, everything was fast. People were driving me. I was saying, slow down the running, because you've been in that little cell, 8B12. I was in solitary quite a lot, because I was obviously I was 24 stone, kicking off, caused a few riots in a few jails. And you get that persona who you are, and they keep moving you about, and they make your life hell there in them jails they can do. But you did jail in Brazil as well, didn't you, John? Yeah,
I did. You know, I was just on a call with some guys that are doing something with the Brazil stuff, and I did almost 3 years there, 2 years, 7 months. There's a penitentiary, concentration camps, killing like crazy, and it's a way different atmosphere than the jails here. The worst jails here can't even compare to those jails there. You know, it's killings left and right.
Were you always eyes open everywhere you went in that type of jail?
Yeah, because you're watching so many guys get killed there. You watch so many guys that get stabbed up in those jails. There's machetes, there's guns, there's the violence is just out of control. It's a different level of violence than in the States. So, you know, those penitentiaries, very, very, very dangerous.
You told me a story tonight. I don't know if I can ask you, that while you were in that jail, someone was making statements about you.
Yeah. You know, when I'm in the jail, for the people who don't know, Gotti was, you know, the prince's, listen, anybody watches Gladiator, you know, the father and the son, he was the dummy of the son, you know, and, you know, the guy was grassing. You can't change that. And his whole crew, it wasn't just him. He's like a 12 or 14 mop, so-called, what they want to say that they're captains, but they all ratted, all of them. And I tell people, you know, check their paperwork. Well, I was sitting in a penitentiary in Brazil. The half of Gotti and all his crew guys were giving me up. They were grassing me. So when I come home, you know, almost 3 years later, and I decide to take the stand against the guys that are already grassing, you know, the United States is a funny spot, because these idiots kiss ass on the mob. Me, I put down the mob. I talk about these guys because they're cowards. And, you know, I'm the only guy that walks around my neighborhood the way I do. And again, there's always a handful of tough guys, but most of them are on about nothing. I mean, I can go through names one after another, never got to a fist fight. They make these guys, and people don't understand the mafia world. It's like me and you being friends now. When you say to me, hey, John, you want to be in my crew? You know, we make our own mob family. You're my new underboss. As simple as that, because we're friends. And, you know, we take our cousins and we make them a captain, and they never did shit. They never even went out and got a cup of coffee. So, you know, when people are buying into this, they buy into it because they heard about the 40s and the 50s and the 60s and the 70s. I'm not the average guy in the mob. I'm the guy doing all the work. Most of these guys, like I said, they never got into a fist fight. Forget about anything else. Well, they'll tell you they did a piece of work, and here's their piece of work. They'll tell you, hey, Brian, can you tell your friend Tommy and tell Tommy to tell Skippy to go kill this guy? Example, a guy, Weissman, got killed in the United States by us, by the Gambino family. 15 guys were involved in conspiracy. I mean, they're like a phone operating team. I mean, you got women that do that much talking to kill one guy. What's the, these guys were a joke. So when people are buying into this shit, I keep telling the kids, stop buying into this nonsense. They try to recruit you to do something because they can't do it. They give you all kinds of numbers. They killed this, they killed that. If you ask them, what did you do? They don't got an answer. And the shame of it is kids are buying into it. And that's why I keep telling kids, don't buy into these guys. I says, because I always challenge everybody, I'm very open. Sit next to me, get your lawyer next to me if you don't want to get next to me, and let's talk openly. Let me see your resume, what you really did.
Yeah.
So.
You can only pretend, can you, so long and you get found out, no matter how you are.
You know what? When you don't pretend, you end up like me. Getting stabbed in the head, getting stabbed in the stomach, getting baseball batted, because you're not picking and choosing the spots. You're just going. And, what happens, happens. And I'm not a big guy. I'm not, guys run into guys like you that are tough guys. What are they going to do? They're not going to fight you. You know that. They're afraid. I says, and you're a real deal guy. So you're not just a guy that's talking. You used to go tax everybody and everybody knows it. So, those are the situations like, they're cowards, because if they weren't cowards, they would still come to you and say, all right, and man up. And after you hurt them, because you're going to hurt them, and then after at least you respect them because they manned up a little bit.
What they've done to me, John, is they set me up. I'd taken 250 grand off them in about 3 months, with a lot of money 30 years ago. They set me up. I went to a house, they stabbed me, hit me with bars, put guns to my head, threatened to shoot me, and didn't intimidate me one bit. I threw them all over like rag dolls, but I ended up with 176 stitches, lost 3 pints of blood. Never said a thing, said I fell over. They actually got caught in the car because the road they were on was 3,000 cars went by every 10 minutes or something. They got caught. I went to court. I went to visit them in jail, got them all off. Said they were with me, that the police had got the blood, my DNA and everything. I went, that blood's off me because I was sparring with him that day. And that blood's in his Jeep because of me and on his clothes. I got them all off. Yeah, I don't make statements, but you get people saying bullshit and this, that, and the other happened, but not many people would have come out of that house. The doctors couldn't believe I never had a broken bone and I survived. Yeah. But you got the same. You had the same, didn't you, John? They got
They not only stabbed me, baseball batted me, they dragged me with a car, they hit me with a car. They left me for dead. I got up, I got the bat, and they didn't think I'd ever get up. I got up that day and I batted one of the guys. I caught him. I chased him down, then I collapsed and I was in that hospital for a year. But, this hasn't changed with me. This got guys constantly threatening me and, by the computer, naturally. And, these guys like Gotti, people don't know. The guy took me to court. He paid for a lawyer and had a guy testify that he heard that I was trying to kill him in Atlantic City a couple of years back. Not true. He offered my brother $15,000 to lie about me to see if he could get me locked up because he was worried that I might come after him. Not that I'm coming after him. And then him and his sister and family started sending letters to the FBI, to Washington, D.C., to my judge's chamber, that if I kill him or hurt him, that they're going to sue the government because they let out a serial killer. But then they're writing now that I never did anything, that I'm not about anything. And, so every day is a new story. And, they troll and block me on my Instagrams and fake. I mean, this is child stuff. This is like very
It's like playground.
They're not embarrassed. I don't get it. He's got a kid. This kid Damian Trites, his new gopher that cleans his underwear or something. That's trolling me. Claims to be an ex-fighter that won 2 fights, lost I think 16, and he's just a punk kid that his son doesn't even bother with him because the father. So who's going to respect somebody that behaves like this? So, and the guy's never been on a street in his life. All of a sudden, he's washing Gotti's car and he's trolling me. And, the problem is these guys don't understand the street. They don't understand to act like a man. They don't understand that if he gets in the wrong way, he better, and he tries to run into me, that's going to be a mistake, because I'm finished with that life. But if he's threatening me and he's going to run into me, if I was him, I wouldn't purposely try to run into me, but
neither would I.
Really Gotti uses these guys. He's got a couple of little punks like Casper Road, some other kid. These guys are like, I don't even know what to say with these guys, but they're trying to agitate me to get me to do something stupid, go back to jail. And my life's not on that. My life's about helping kids now and trying to do the right thing. So,
Yeah. David Aston's asked me to ask you a thing. He's asked me to ask John about his substance abuse after he'd been arrested, after being grassed.
Well, I'm sitting in a penitentiary in Brazil, and I left my family, and I left my kids, and I was with a couple of guys from the UK. Actually, I'm very friendly with. They were all with me when the lawyer called up, and we were calling with smuggled phones. Lawyer Joseph Carrazzo. He's an attorney, does a lot of work with the mob and the Gambino family. His family's affiliated with the mafia, and he told me that Gotti was a rat. He says he's grassing, and he said not just him, all his guys, his right-hand man, Captain Scars, and Ronnie Wunham, another captain of the Gambino family, made an opening statement. I'm only a captain in the Gambino family, but Johnny ALITE's a loose cannon and a killer, and if I'm not nice to him, he's going to kill me too. So I'm sitting in the pen and I'm getting these messages. And then the boss of the Bonanno family, Joe Messina, he's wearing a wire. His underboss, his brother-in-law, he's ratting. And these guys are a joke. I got to tell you, I'm Albanian. I'm not Italian. They're not loyal to their own thing, but they want to sell this nonsense to kids to follow them. And then all those other mob guys, because the guys that didn't rat, why aren't you killing any of these guys? You guys are gangsters. So, while these guys were all ratting and grassing in every crew, how come you didn't kill any of them? Yeah. I'm not the mob. I'm not John Gotti's son. How come any of you guys didn't do no work? So when they're writing and they're talking about me, I got to laugh. But it was okay for me to go shoot 30 guys for you. I said, well, I'm the guy doing it. And when people don't believe it, they could just go read the Forbes magazine and see how accurate it is.
So
because
true.
That's a 6-month investigation.
It is true.
Yeah. So,
But the thing is, over here, John, if someone grasses you, there's no such thing as a grass in a grass, because obviously there's no such thing, because if somebody's going to put you away for life and they make stories up about you, you've got to say something. Right. He's going to go to jail, and you've already done the jail for them, and then they want you to do more jail. Just make that. See, there's always two sides to a story. I say,
Brian, I ran through the mob guys. I beat up Gotti's uncle in prison. He was my cellmate. I beat up the underboss of Chicago in prison. I beat up the boss of Cleveland's best friend, and we almost killed him in prison. I came home, I beat up Gotti's brother-in-law. I left him for dead on the side of the Bell Parkway. I shot his friend Stevie, who I'm friends with now. They did nothing. I shot my cousin, was around them. They did nothing. I stabbed up Joe Kane and robbed him twice. They did nothing. I baseball batted a kid, Johnny, who was around, testified for Gotti. I almost killed him with the bat. They did nothing. I mean, I could go on. I shot 2 guys, guys around him, his brother-in-laws, 2 of them. They did nothing. I'm waiting. I'm going to die. I'm going to tell you how I'm going to die. I'm going to die old age, or I'm going to get some sort of disease, because what I've done to them, and they just keep trolling, grassing, trying to get me locked up, calling everybody. Now they got trolls trying to make me lose my temper. I say it again. That life's over for me. I'm retired. I'm trying to show kids, look at these cowards. Look at their actions. Look what they have done, and then don't be like them. Don't follow my life because I ruined it. Don't follow your life. Go to school, enjoy your life, get a pretty girlfriend, make some money. You don't got to be a doctor. Go drive a truck, but enjoy your life. That's the message.
You can work at McDonald's.
Simple, really.
You can work at McDonald's. You can work as a dustbin.
Make
a wage, put food on the table, have a family, and have no police, no gangsters, no drug dealers come to your house and live a life of luxury. You don't need loads of money. You don't need a 6-bedroom house. You can sleep in one room. You don't need 20 tellies. You can only watch one television. You don't need 20 cars. You can only drive one car. A $500 car or a $50,000 still gets you to A to B.
I say the same thing. You watch TV. How big do you want the TV? I mean, you get a house for 15,000 square feet. What are you going to do in that house? You can only sleep in one bed. I mean, it's the truth. Well, and here's the thing. As we get to be men and gentlemen and change our lives from that, I get to meet good people like David, you, gentlemen.
Yeah.
I don't stay with the guys that Gotti stayed. These are weak guys. These are such weak men. And people got to say, how do their own families or kids respect them? Actually, the kid Damien's family don't respect him. His kid won't even, they don't want nothing to do with him because of his actions. And he's too stupid to see these kid actions. You're teaching other kids to behave like that. You should be ashamed of yourself. Instead of teaching these kids to be gentlemen, act like gentlemen. And if you're a real fighter, whoever's training you teaches you to respect the sport and the art and not to try to be a bully. And this is what I feel bad about the kids on the internets, because kids that go to school and they're getting bullied. Yeah. You got these jerk off punk men that are teaching these kids to do this by their actions. They're saying, well, this man's doing it. And they got them bullshitted that this is a good act to be doing. Instead of being gentlemen and saying to kids, don't do that. Be the guy that's sticking up for the guy that is bullying guys. Don't be because these are such weak things to do. And, you know, weak men stay with weak men. Somebody who's strong, you know, I like to stay with guys like yourself that are a gentleman and strong personality and men, real men, so you can have a conversation. And that doesn't mean you got to be a fighter to be a man. Just be a gentleman.
No. Yep. Yeah. But you get these trolls, they hide behind a computer. They pretend they're all these different names. They won't even come up with their own name. They don't even say, they're pretending to be whatever different bogus names. That's why they call them trolls. And I don't see what the big thing, what they call it fishing over here, where they cast the net or cast the rod. I see how many people we can catch.
Well,
I just, yeah.
You got to ask yourself, and the Gotti name, because of the father was, you know, famous, whatever. You got to ask, you know, the guys that are listening and watching, you got to say to yourself, I want to take the son because people know I can't stand the way he behaves. I said, they got to say to themselves, well, let's not talk about me. Let's ask Gotti, why'd they make you in the mob? What'd you exactly do besides being the father's son? So this is your father and son job. So if your father's a made guy, they make you a made guy, they make the next guy a made guy, and none of you has ever got to a fist fight. And, you know, so tell me what you did. Tell me what, because I know how he got made. He got made off a murder I did. So, but if that's not true, and he says that's not true, so tell us what you did then. Tell us why they made you this gangster. What'd you do? It's just, you know, because he never did nothing. And, you know, these guys are a fraud. They're perpetrating a fraud, and no one's calling them on it. And the media brings up this mafia shit, and I can go through 100 names with you that these guys never got to a fist fight. Forget about anything else. And this needs to get to the forefront with these dumb stories I'm hearing from every guy on the internet. I says, because you got one guy after another telling them, but they never talk about themselves. Never. So I want to know why. I mean, there's a couple of guys that are friends of mine. I bring them on my shows, like Anthony Ruse. They were street guys, or Bobby Louise or Anthony Earl. I brought some guys. They're good guys, gentlemen. But I'm talking about the guys that aren't, that are telling stories, and they never specifically talk about themselves. I just, why not? You're all grassed. You're all cooperators. Talk. You can't stand up for it. You know, I really want somebody to call them out and ask them, why aren't you just talking about yourself?
I might be able to get them on my show, John. I'll interview them.
Yeah.
I'll ask them.
Yes, I'll be coming on the show here, and I'll just talk about you the whole time. So, you know, it's easy because we can tell 1,000 stories about you because you actually were action. You were actually getting shot up, stabbed up, battered, jails. You know, it's easy for me to tell people, you know, because they want to hear stories. Like, well, I'll tell you this story about Brian. I could talk for 2 years about you. You know that. Yeah. Why can't they talk about themselves? Why do they need to talk about other people?
Because they haven't got no past.
They have a past. You know that.
Yeah. It's like being a top, say, actor. And just because your dad's a top actor, he doesn't mean say you're going to be the actor. That's the analogy we're getting. John Gotti in it. So, because his dad was the boss, now he's the boss because he's the son. But that'd be like saying a tennis player who's great, his son, you can be the tennis player now, but you've got to do something.
I told David during the trial, his lawyers, his whole defense was everything I did was for the father, all the violence, not him. He's not violent. And they blamed everything on me and the father. And all his witnesses said the same thing. Johnny is just a fucking mad dog, violent bastard. And their defense for the kid is he's just a spoiled little kid, rich kid that never did anything, and he's soft, and he's not violent. So, but then why are you projecting that into the media now that you're this gangster? It's fine if you're not a gangster, but stop bullshitting people. because you're trying to influence kids to go into that life. And I'm telling the kids, don't believe these assholes. These assholes are grassing. These assholes never got into a fight. These guys are just trying to use guys like you to ruin your life because they're not man enough to do shit themselves.
Yeah. What was the worst, scariest situation you were in, John? Was that when they all got you that time and tried to kill you?
Nah,
Have you been worse? Yeah,
I mean, listen, there were some serious guys that were trying to plot to kill me for a long time. And we talk about these guys like he's a very good friend of mine now. So, meet him, talk every day. They were actually, now these guys were serious killers, tough guys. This kid, Tabita, that I'm very friendly with Anthony and some of his crew. They were the opposite crew of me. But, people ask me, wow, you really respect these guys. Because they didn't fake their way through the life. They got away from the life. They're good family guys. They're gentlemen. They're businessmen. They don't want no problems either. And they say the same thing as me. But if somebody made the mistake to bother one of us, no, we're all very good friends. And we really did all the work. These fucking frauds never did nothing. So how are they going to intimidate us? So they're going to just keep writing us? Or they're going to try to set us up to do something stupid. So that ain't going to happen. I don't have the ego to prove anything. Obviously, if these guys were tough guys, they wouldn't be writing like that. They wouldn't talk like that.
Yeah, the thing is, John, these guys who are supposed to be the tough guys have gone to you to do the jobs. So they know what you're about because they've given you the jobs to do. 30-odd people killed or whatever. So they know what you're about. But you know what they're about because they can't do it themselves. So they give it to you.
And then they say, well, he's nothing. Okay, if I'm nothing, why do you keep talking about me? Get lost. So they can't, you can't